So today we're going to go over some techniques for using commonly found household materials to seal cracks and voids in live edge slabs and pieces of wood that would otherwise be rendered either useless or just troublesome. So what we've decided to do with this piece is spread it about 1.25 inches apart, and that way I'll have a little spot to put my little meandering river through. We've also sealed up the edges with epoxy previously, so it's already hardened and ready to go to work with here. The reason we do that is to keep any loose particles and air bubbles from coming out during the pour. What we've got is some common household things. Just got some old yogurt containers, something from an old cracker box, basically just a chipboard, cardboard, masking tape. You'll need to have a razor blade or a pair of scissors, a pencil, and then one of the most important parts, some super glue. We use the Starborn glue. You want to use the thick consistency glue for this. And here I've got a larger piece for doing our little river here. So we're going to set our cardboard down, position our piece of wood so that it looks desirable for what we want to achieve. Then I'm just going to go take the pencil and just make a rough mark here where my center line is going to be. That way when I take these pieces of wood off, I'll have a reference to where to put our tape. One other thing that can come in handy is getting a roll of Tyvek tape. Epoxy does not like to stick to the backside of Tyvek, so it'll pop loose very easily. On this little line we've marked here, I'm just going to want to stretch it the whole way. Trim our tape to size. Just want to check it to make sure that everything's where it needs to be at. That looks good. Now that we know our layout's good, I'm just going to write on one side, right the top. Now that we have our top side marked, we're going to basically want to flip it over so that we're working with the back side. Spread it apart the same distance as what you had before, and we're going to lay this on top, making sure that our tape is in line with the little river in the front. Then take a pencil or a marker or something and just mark along the edge of this. And this will give you a reference where to put your tape when we seal this onto the wood. Next, we're going to take just some masking tape, and just inside that line, lay a little strip. Now this tape is so we can actually run a bead of the super glue on here and not really have it stick into the wood. The tape will pull off pretty easily when everything's all cured up. So we're ready to put the glue on. We're going to use the Starbond branded gap filler, which is the thick blend. You can use any super glue. It's also important to have an accelerator. This just speeds up the process, so you have about a 10-minute cure time from the time you spray this on to the time the glue sets up. Otherwise it takes a little bit of time for that to happen, and most people don't want to wait that long. So what we're going to do is run a nice bead of glue somewhere in the center of our tape. Doesn't have to be pretty. The reason we use the thick is so it doesn't spread out very quickly. It takes a little bit of time. So we're spraying the accelerator on so it'll cure quickly. You can pick this up at the link in the description if you'd like to get some for yourself. Next, we're just going to apply even pressure, ensuring that we don't have any gaps or air pockets in here. Give it about 10 or 15 seconds to cure up and we should be good. Now that that's completed, we'll carefully flip our piece over and we'll work on the corners or the edges, basically the same way. So we're going to bend this up to make a right angle. That way when we pour our resin in, it doesn't just flow right out the side. So same thing we did on the bottom. You have to be quick here because it'll want to set up pretty fast. So the reason we're doing all the super glue and making sure this is sealed up good, because you really need a tight seal on everything that you're going to be pouring your resin into so it doesn't leak out. If you have a tiny drip or a leak, you can lose a lot of product and you'll have to start your project over once your resin's cured up. Okay, so now that we've got that process done, the last step was going to be to just go over it and make sure that we don't have any little gaps or cracks or anything else that needs to be sealed. Use your super glue, just go around some of the edges. Remember that it is a little bit on the flimsy side, so you'll have to either support it or put it on a flat surface. But as long as this is kept flat, this will be great. So we've done all this using mostly common household materials that either don't cost much money or any at all. A lot of the common ways to do this would be using expensive epoxy molds or trays, end up costing a lot of money, and also use a lot of excess epoxy. So not only does this save money with the material we use, it also saves a lot of excess waste in their expensive epoxy resin. So this same process can be used for repairing little cracks or splits in pieces of wood. Here we have a little knot hole that we probably want to fill. So now you're ready to pour your epoxy. If you want more information on how to do that, check out our other videos on cleaning the edges and brushing epoxy on that, and also mixing and doing resin for pours. So that wraps it up today. If you'd like to buy any of the products that we use today, please check the link in the description. Thanks for watching.